Thanks for tuning in to another episode of After Further Review. Please like, subscribe, comment on the videos. We love doing this content for you, growing this channel. Check out the podcast as well. We're going to be doing some mock drafts in the very near future and talking more and more about the NFL offseason, where everyone's going, moving, and shaking and rebuilding rosters. A lot of great content to come. But without further ado, this is After Further Review. Good morning, good evening, good night, folks. This is your Football Scout 365 host, Woody Massey. I'm here with Coach Brandon Lumberg. How you doing,
What's
Coach?
up?
What's going on, man?
Another episode, man. I feel like we just finished uploading the Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson episode, and these little duo shows. They're fun.
Yeah,
should have been doing these all along.
We should have. What did the great 3-6 Mafia say? Another day, another dollar, another night to make
yeah. There we go.
And so here we are. We're now, Brandon, this is a big one. So obviously we did Olave and Garrett Wilson. And when I say big one, I mean that literally and figuratively. Two biggest targets probably in this draft are the elite receivers. That's why we put these guys together. And also, how big is Treylon Burke? He's around there, right?
Yeah, he's up there. I think he's around the 6'3", 6'4" range, somewhere in that.
So those three are the big boys, the guys that. Now these guys, we both agree, could be true number one wide receivers, like centerpieces of offenses. Pay them the big money, keeping the chains moving, red zone threats. Yeah, big chunk plays across the middle.
Yeah, and to be real with you, looking at how I graded these guys and going through the process, I've got full grades on 16 different receivers that, I started back in late November, and just kind of worked my way up. And, Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Chris Olave, those guys obviously stand out. It's David Bell and Drake London that show the highest ceiling of all the players. Now, David Bell just kind of, he stole the show for me a little bit ahead of Drake London, and Drake London's starting to grow on me now that we're starting to dig in a little bit more on him.
Sleeping on my boy Drake London, man.
But both of them have the highest ceilings. I'll go ahead and throw that out there of any of the receivers, honestly, that I can see in this particular class, especially when we're talking about the top names in this class.
So let me tell you, Drake London, USC, by the way, we mentioned this last week, wide receiver U. 50 wide receivers drafted since 1962. Rich history of guys. And we usually have 4 or 5 in the league at the same time putting up numbers. We slept there for a second. Dwayne Jarrett kind of set us back. I thought Dwayne Jarrett is like the biggest bust of all those wide receivers. I thought he was going to be great in the NFL. Dwayne Jarrett was absolutely disgusting. And then when Miami picked him up, I was like, okay, yeah. And then he just did nothing. But
was it Mike Williams? Mike Williams too?
Yeah, Mike Williams was actually definitely the biggest bust. Bro, I thought Mike Williams was going to be one of the all-time greats. That one-handed catch he made in the back of the end zone to this day, I think about that twice a week. That was one of my favorite plays.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But to be honest, Drake London, he's been the biggest, weird way to put it, but the biggest grower on his first couple years, he got chunk plays. He got the long balls. But he wasn't that true number one. But this last year, in one of USC's worst seasons, but it brought us Lincoln Riley, so I'd do it all over again. He was a true number one wide receiver. They leaned on Drake London. He was their entire offense, essentially. Like their number one offensive player. And the only thing that concerns me about him is sometimes he gets the yips. He'll drop a ball or two, but that'll come in the player comparison.
None of these guys are perfect. London did have a lot more drops than some of the other top tier guys that we've discussed already. He had 8 drops this past season, and David Bell, he also had 5 drops. So they're not perfect.
He makes up for it though in the big plays.
When you're relied upon consistently like London is to make the big plays in the key moments consistently, I mean, you have to consider that factor as well. And teams are keying in on you, and you're going to be in more contested situations than you would be in an offense where maybe somebody else is, you got a really good number 2, right, to take some attention off of you. So, you take those factors into consideration as well. So I'm not going to destroy him over the drops. Just watch a full game. I mean, this guy is always involved.
Well, let's talk about the prospects. Now, let's start with David Bell. David Bell and wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, Rondale Moore, same team, correct?
Yeah, so when Rondale Moore actually went down, I think it was 2019, he went down to injury. That's when David Bell kind of burst onto the scene at Purdue. He's a 4-star recruit out of Indianapolis. A dual sport athlete, was actually a really, really good basketball player in high school as well. He received a lot of offers on the basketball side of the equation. I mean, this is a kid who dunked in 7th grade, which is pretty cool. He's also, he won a state title. We were talking about this before. I asked you, I'm like, is Romeo Langford a good basketball player? And you're like, yeah,
he's fine. Yeah.
If you look up David Bell on YouTube, high school basketball, it's the first thing that pops up. He hit a game-winning shot to send his team to the championship against Romeo Langford in high school. So pretty cool.
What did we say last week about wide receivers in basketball?
There is it's a direct correlation. Them and tight ends too,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so guys like Mike Gesicki, those guys who played basketball in high school, that there is a direct correlation there. So, but again, as a football player, started as a freshman in high school, was on the varsity team as a freshman. And then once he got to Purdue, started making an impact. I mean, he was earning freshman all Big Ten honors. He's been all Big Ten the past couple of years. And then when you hop over to the Drake London side of the equation, another 4-star recruit. He's from Moore Park, California. So he also stays in state, similar to David Bell, stayed in the state of Indiana. But just like David Bell, Drake London, excellent basketball player. In high school, had a lot of offers on that side of the equation. Some schools were offering him to play both. And he did. He played basketball. He has played basketball at USC, though sparingly. He is on the USC basketball team.
I know that's insane, though. That athleticism to do that in college, people don't realize how insane that is.
And there's guys who've had success doing it. To me, it's weird because I've seen guys in the past who have went from playing on the football field, then you see them on the basketball court, and it looks a little awkward to you because
different frame.
Yeah, and you're used to the helmet and pads, right?
I mean, the greatest transition of basketball to football ever, obviously, is Hall of Fame tight end Antonio Gates.
That is
he didn't even he literally did he play for Kent State?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't even think he did. And there's another guy, now that you bring it up, Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah,
from I think what was that, Virginia Commonwealth?
I believe it was VCU.
Yep. So he made the transition over to football, and he's been pretty solid for the past couple of years. He's made some pretty good points.
I saw Antonio Gates' first preseason game with the Chargers. I remember watching this guy move, and I was like, this guy's gonna be amazing. He's so wide. He just boxes out everyone. No one can get around him.
It brings up the topic, and I know we're veering way off, but LeBron James playing football. He played high school. He was a high level.
One of the greatest wide receivers of all time.
Yeah, he was a high level football player in high school. Mm-hmm. He could have played tight end or receiver, and he would have been excellent at either position. So, yeah. So moving on to the football side of things, back to the football side of it, because
to the football.
One more thing on the basketball side. See, basketball steals the show, right? Drake London averaged nearly 30 points a game his senior year in basketball and 11 rebounds. That's pretty phenomenal. So,
well, at 6'5", I'm sure he was balling, and it's a good basketball area too. Moore Park, California.
Yeah, he's playing shooting guard.
Well, that shows you the footwork. He's 6'5", and he's playing shooting guard. This is the best wide receiver in this draft.
There's a lot of people who believe that, and his upside could carry him to that level. Feel the same way about David Bell in that regard. I feel like it could carry both these guys past the Olaves, the Wilsons, the Jamison Williams. Drake London, just like David Bell, this is a guy who comes right in, makes an impact as a freshman on the football field at USC. As a freshman, he was third-team All-American, according to PFF. And then he continued to rack up all conference honors in 2020 and 2021, including PFF first team All-America this past season. So he is very highly regarded. I know he's the number one receiver on a lot of people's big boards right now. Excellent player.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to give you a chance before we really dive in here. You're the highest on David Bell of anyone.
Yes.
I've been looking around, and by far, you got him number 2 on your board, or number 1, excuse me, right?
I have him number 1. I flip-flopped a little bit between Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams started out as high as I think I had him at like number 4 overall.
Biggest steal ever at the end of the first round now.
Yep.
It's going to be.
I didn't move him that far back. I mean, to be real with you, in terms of the rankings for these guys, it's David Bell. I've got Garrett Wilson second, Chris Olave third, Jamison Williams fourth, Jahan Dotson fifth, and Drake London is sixth. But keep in mind,
I think the combine is really going to separate him. Like
I think so too.
His speed and his size, I think the combine is really going to shoot him up.
Yeah, I think that if he shows out a good 40 time, and combine, some people put more stock in it than what they should sometimes. But
the shuttle run is huge, like
in the short area burst.
Yeah. I mean, remember, it sank. It doesn't mean everything. It sank DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf was being looked at as like a top 10 player, and then he ran that terrible shuttle run because he's so big and he builds up momentum when he runs.
Yeah.
And everyone was all worried about it. And then you look at the guy for 2 seconds, you're like, I'm not worried about the shuttle run.
Well, also look at the 10-yard split. When they're doing the 40s, every scout out there that has a stopwatch is looking at the first 10 yards. How fast do they get from 0 to 60? Because you're not running 40 yards.
But if scheme fit also means a lot, because I think DK would have not had as much success this early if he would have gone somewhere without Russell Wilson. Like, it all depends on where these guys fall and who their quarterback is. Like right now, McShay had Drake London, first receiver off the board. I think a player like Drake London would do really well with Matt Ryan, because Matt Ryan, not the most accurate, but he'll put it up for a guy for sure. Like, I think he could take advantage of his size and speed.
If we're looking, and speaking of rankings as well, and you're right about what you're saying, because the combo with Kyle Pitts, that's huge, right? Because you're taking some attention away.
If Calvin Ridley comes back, that is tough.
Right.
Russell Gage in the slot.
You're in a great situation, right? And even Metcalf, you could say the same thing. Him being paired with Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson at the same time is very beneficial to all of them, right? At the same time. So in terms of rankings, I don't want to get beat up too much, because look, when it comes to the ceiling, David Bell and Drake London would be 1 and 2. They would be ahead of everyone else.
All right, let's take a look at their stats real quick before we jump into it. Drake London started off his first 2 years. It was more of the deep threat. Came out as a freshman, scored 5 touchdowns, held the steady average yards per catch, and had 567 yards his first year. But last year came into his own. 88 receptions, 1,084 yards, 12.3 average, which shows you the usage rate. Because when we look at the stats later, Drake London has the most 20-yard plays. So he's getting down the field, but that shows you how much USC relied on him in the short game as well. Actually, they used him practically as a running back, making like 4-yard slant catches just to move the ball because their offense was stuttering so much. So that shows you how versatile his game is. He's moving the chains and he's going downfield. Incredible usage rate with this USC squad. And then
explosive plays.
To 100%. David Bell, other side, his freshman year, he had 86 catches, 1,035 yards, and 7 TDs. That's really impressive for a freaking freshman.
I know.
Then 2020, did he get injured?
No. Remember, it was an abbreviated
shortened season. Go.
Yeah.
93 receptions, 1,286 yards, and 6 touchdowns this year. So those are very impressive numbers. Yeah. And he sat out the bowl game.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind, too, I mean, I want to be honest with you. I mean, USC's quarterback situation far better than Purdue's, but there's moments.
Slovis didn't look that great this year.
I got to watching a little bit of Drake London a little more, and I saw some things in Slovis where I'm like, that's what we were thinking about last year when Slovis we thought, upside.
Bro, I thought he was going to be a pro prospect, honestly.
And he still has a shot.
He still has a shot, but that offense last year was be interesting to see what he does in Kenny Pickett's offense. It's a good drop in for him. They don't have to change much.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to play style and scheme fit, Brandon. Where do you see these guys fitting in? What type of offenses?
both these guys are ex receivers on the outside, right? But I feel like you can move either one of them into the slot if you wanted to. But I feel like London might be able, depending on where he lands, because we just talked about it. If he was with the Falcons, for example, and you've got Kyle Pitts and you've got Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley comes back, man.
Imagine trying to guard both corners of the end zone with crossing routes of Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
And Ridley's
yeah. Ridley's running across the short route there.
Matt Ryan will have more issues trying to figure out where to go with the football.
And then
he'll get confused. They're open. Both guys, outside receivers, they could be interchangeable depending on situation, but that's where I see them really, really fitting in. Vertical scheme, crossing routes, quick game, all that stuff. I do like the after the catch ability and the ability to kind of make people miss. Drake London.
Well, you see that with the short catches. He caught a lot of balls close to the line of scrimmage and picked up yards after the catch.
Yeah.
They have faith in the fact that he could make it the first dude to miss initially.
And he was second among the group of receivers that, we've covered so far. Among the guys, David Bell, Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, and the next couple receivers we're going to cover in Treylon Burks and Jahan Dotson. You've got Drake London and David Bell ranking atop the list in forced missed tackles after the catch. So that's fantastic, and that's what you want to see.
We obviously went over a lot of these stats last week with Olave and Wilson, so we'll glance over them again. For Drake London's strengths and David Bell, explosive plays.
In terms of explosive plays, is Drake London ranking at the top? You were giving me crap last week. You're like, oh, look at who it is at the top. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm noticing that too when I'm going through the data. And I'm like, that's impressive. This guy shows up in almost all these categories that we really look at and that we care about the most. Explosive plays, you got Drake London, number one, Jahan Dotson, number two among this group of receivers that we're trying to dig deep into our top list of receivers, and David Bell, number three. So they can be counted on to hit the big play.
And you see that in their yard after the catch, too.
Yeah, the yards after the catch, we hop in there. Jamison Williams, Treylon Burks, then David Bell.
Well, my David Bell comparison fits for the yards after the catch because he's deceptively smooth while running for how big he is.
Yeah, it's interesting, the way these guys move, and I think that's what really separates them for me. Like some of these bigger dudes, they can be a little stiff and not, look, one of my player comps for Drake London, the first thing that hit me was Chase Claypool, obviously, and I thought, okay, the way that he kind of contorts and uses the sideline to make plays.
Well, that's also something to talk about, the contested catch rate. When I looked, I couldn't believe my eyes. Almost 70% for Drake London. And this, once again, I know I keep repeating this, but it's true. This is incredible because he was the number one. He was the whole offense last year for USC. So he's got two guys hanging off of him making these catches in traffic. So I honestly, that's why I don't hold the drops against him that bad. I did earlier in the year, but when I took a closer look at the film, I was like, no, this guy was carrying the load. You can, it's like a running back, they were using him more like a running back, honestly, just getting him into open space, but there was no open space.
and there's teams do that a lot with their best player, that whatever that you can do to get this guy the football into the open field. And the contested catch rate, again, Drake London ranks atop. So he's making plays in traffic, and this is what you expect from him, and you expect that from David Bell, who is in that group as well. I mean, he's not at the top of that group, but you can see it on film, more than capable. And it's the basketball aspect of things. When you're watching Drake London use his body to kind of get in front of the defender and make a play on the football, we'll get to the player comps here in a little bit. You've got some great comparisons that you're going to go over that we talked about that really. I guarantee every one of the guys that you're going to bring up played basketball without me even knowing.
Yeah,
they were
the most useless, players. Most important part of the show.
Yes, but hey, it draws and paints the picture for people.
It does for sure. Well, also we talked about how great they were running with the ball after the catch. I mean, this forced missed tackles. They're 1 and 2. Like these guys can move. They got hips, hips of dances.
And we're questioning a little bit David Bell's speed. It's what they do in the short areas, right? The quickness, the lateral ability, if a guy's running a 4.6, I'm not worried about that.
All right, Brandon, let's hop into these comparisons before we dim the lights and start the movie night. So Drake London, you had mentioned Chase Claypool, which I like that because he'll go up and get the ball. He's a red zone threat. He's a deep ball, jump ball catcher, which is two very elite skills to have with guys. I mean, one of the guys that I'm going to mention, and this also goes with his sideline work. The way he goes up and gets the ball. I'm pausing here because I'm nervous to say this because I really put him on that level. And the way he runs, because the Cardinals used to use this man as well close to the line of scrimmage. And he was very good at making that initial first defender miss, even though he wasn't the fastest guy. And if you guys think I'm alluding to Larry Fitzgerald, you're right. So please don't tear me a new one. Because Larry, the way this man, like we're going to show a clip here, of the way he goes up and gets the ball on the sidelines is absolutely unbelievable. It just blows my mind the way he can go up over defenders and then have the body control to land the body inbounds, even though he's tiptoeing on the sidelines. It's crazy. And I see the Chase Claypool one there, but there's another guy. And the drops are kind of what drew me to him too. But the way he can move while running routes really reminds me of everyone's favorite idiot, Plexico Burress. Like I see some real Plexico Burress in this man. Like people forget Plexico was an incredible red zone threat with the Giants. Yeah. He stringed together a couple seasons where he was dominant in the end zones. And I could see Drake London having like a 1,400-yard, 15 touchdown season. That's how good I think this guy can be.
Burress is, deceptively quick too. His 40 time was, 4.59.
Mm-hmm. For a guy who's 6'6".
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's and if you can, I feel like London might be 4.5-ish if he's in that range. But again, Chase Claypool was a 4.4. If you get close to that, Drake London gets close to that with his playmaking ability, then you're looking at another potential.
I see the production smearing somewhere in the middle of those two careers because I don't think he's going to be. I look at Larry Fitzgerald as like a top 5 wide receiver all the time.
Yeah, and Fitzgerald was a 4.6.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
But I see it somewhere in between. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver all the time, but I think there's going to be some big all-pro seasons mixed in there for sure. And then obviously let's move on to the David Bell comparison. You had a guy in mind at first.
Yeah, I threw out Anquan Bolden.
Which I really like the way he runs after the catch. Not the fastest guy, but he makes guys miss.
Yeah, again, a 4.7 40 guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keep that in mind, man.
It's insane that he runs.
It's like he's standing still.
Yeah. People used to literally look at Anquan Bolden. They used to compare him to a running back after he caught the ball.
Yeah. He's hard to bring down. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, I saw a similar guy who's great running after the catch, and he has a very similar body type that I think you're going to like here. It's a little bit of a throwback here, Brandon, but I could see it. Jimmy Smith. The old Jimmy Smith, Mark Brunell comparison there. Now, and like if we see Bell fall, we could easily see David Bell lining up with Trevor Lawrence down there in Jacksonville. That would be if they say they go offensive line up at the top. And then they hit because people are sleeping on David Bell. Obviously, you have him higher than other people. Yeah. Realistically, he could be down at the bottom of the first, top of the second. That would be a great combo.
That would be.
Together. You got Chenault, and then you got David Bell. You starting to get some weapons there.
Yeah, you are. And again, Jimmy Smith, that's a good comp because I think that's close to where maybe David Bell lands 40-yard dash wise. Jimmy Smith, 4.58. So
nice.
That's pretty interesting. I like it.
All right. Brandon, we do this before we always dive into the film, excuse me. What goes into an elite wide receiver prospect? Now, obviously, we went over the guys last week of different type of wide receiver. That's like the slot guys. They can both play outside, but these are the big boys. What goes into a true red zone target, big moving, big chunk play guy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these guys, they check a lot of boxes. But the 3 categories that we look at the most How good are their hands? Can they catch the football consistently? We went over that a little bit. Both guys have had some issues with drops, a little bit more Drake London having some issues with drops, but nothing that I believe he'll fix it. Concentration drops. We talked about that with the receivers last time with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, both two guys that you would never think would have that problem. Gaining separation from defenders, getting open, route running is the biggest part of that. Both these guys exhibit that they can do that, but when they can't get separation, they make contested plays, which is, you add that in. Let's just think about it. Guys who have an issue getting separation that don't have the ability to make the contested catches, a lot easier for an NFL defensive back to cover. These guys, even when you're all over them, you got to watch out. They'll make a play.
Just and we're get the seeing ball less and less big corners too.
Yeah, so you're getting a lot because they need to cover the smaller, quicker slot guys, that are out there that are versatile, that move around.
These are the guys like Drake London, Mike Evans, Chase Claypool. These are the type of guys that in the NBA, like with the way people look at like Kristaps Porzingis, they call him a unicorn. These are our NFL unicorns. These are the guys that defy position. They could be a tight end if they wanted to bulk up, honestly. Yeah. But they're so fast and so elusive that they can be a number one wide receiver. And they will break defensive coordinators' brains trying to game plan against them, especially in big games. If you don't have a shutdown physical big corner to line up against one of these guys, they're going to burn you in the playoffs.
And after the catchability, we already went over it with these guys. Both of them possess excellent after the catch ability, making people miss, breaking tackles, whatever. Turn into a running back as soon as the ball's in your hands and you're out in space. So those are the three things that we're really digging into and looking at. But really for these guys, we're gonna get 3 clips a piece here of just these guys making, some incredible catches for the most part. There's like one play that I have for London that's like after the catch that kind of touches on the throws at or near the line of scrimmage, for example, for usage for Drake London. But yeah, that's what we're going to cover.
That should be the title of this episode, The Unicorn Show. All right. Well, without further ado, Brandon, let's dim the lights, get the beers out, a little popcorn, and teach me something I don't know, Coach.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Start off with Drake London, play number 1, and you're going to see a contested catch out of the gate here, and you're going to see that he is getting off coverage here at the bottom of the screen to the short side of the field, and Colorado's playing with 2 high safeties. So they are looking to defend over the top, but you're going to see right here the quarterback's rolling out, and he is going to split the 2 deep safeties, and he's got a man all over him, and he's bodying him. You can see he gets big air. That is basically a staple of what we're talking about in terms of the jump ball ability. And when a guy can't get separation like we just discussed, it's all good because they can make plays like this. And this is that basketball ability that, we discussed earlier too. For both these receivers, you're going to see that.
That was a straight out box out. Like if you rewind it, that's literally what you do when you go up for a rebound.
Oh yeah.
Like watch how he positions his body, turns his back to the safety, completely boxes him out away from the ball, goes up and gets it.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't have a replay on this. I did the best I could to try to get the instant replay on this one, and I couldn't. It is unforgivable. It
Chicken
is, absolutely.
Waffle fries for free.
Oh, man. Actually, I wouldn't mind some waffle fries right now. Play number 2. Again, we're going to get another play where he's using his physicality, his body, to kind of shield the corner. In the way that he just moves his body on this play.
That was some straight up Mike Evans right there.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting, a similar. And this goes to the Larry Fitzgerald phase too. I mean, it checks all those boxes as well. And again, when you can't get
a jump ball artist is the lost art in the NFL. There's just not enough of them anymore. It transitioned back honestly to the tight end position. We see a lot of tight ends now that are the big go up and get it guys.
And you can see at the top here, the DB's doesn't get hands on him. Mm-hmm. And he's going to get, the free release, and he's going to go to the fade to the outside. The quarterback just puts the ball. Quarterback didn't really put the ball where just his guy can get it. It's really London just getting in position
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
he gets himself in position, uses his body to box out the defender, and that's what he offers in the red zone. Boom, boom. Just boxes him out. After the catchability, plays at or near the line of scrimmage, kind of scheming things up. This is a beneath route that you're going to see him run. So basically, he's just running beneath the line of scrimmage, going to get out here near the flat to make the catch. And it's just the after the catch stuff here. And you can see his athleticism, jumps over a guy, hops in the end zone. You can just see how fluid an athlete he is. Yeah. And that's something at his size,
Didn't even break stride with that leap either.
Yeah, and a guy at his size, he's not a heavy guy. I really would like to see him put on at least maybe 10 more pounds.
He's going to get in that NFL weight room.
Yeah.
He's going to be a beast. But that was the question with Mike Evans, too, when he came in the league. That people were wondering if he'd be strong enough, and he definitely got stronger as the years has gone on.
Yeah. But those are the 3 plays for Drake London as we move into a couple plays here for David Bell. Play 1 for David Bell here. We've been talking about contested catches and using your body to get to the football or track the football, for example. And David Bell is one of the best at tracking the football, even when he's in coverage or has a guy in the way. And you can see it's decent coverage, but the quarterback throws it to a spot where David Bell can make the play.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And again, he gets
that
a free
tracking
release.
Is just that's Jimmy Smith.
And there's some holding going on there a little bit. Didn't really affect him on the play. And anytime you give a guy like this a free release at the line of scrimmage and he's able to kind of fade to the outside on his route without any real contact initially, it's going to be hard to stop that, especially when they have the ball tracking skills like that near the sideline. So
yeah, that's real.
We watched a play with Drake London in the red zone, for example, and now we're going to get one for David Bell. And this is just a fantastic play here. Another, fade to the outside. I believe actually that's Rondale Moore right here. So you got Rondale Moore and David Bell on the same team, on the same side of the field.
Open on the same side of the field, and he trusts David Bell on a fade.
Right, because you could throw this and at least get your first down, but after the catch, I'm gonna bet money Rondale Moore is gonna score the touchdown here. But again, he throws the more difficult throw to the back of the end zone.
Way to get the feet in.
Yeah, and Bell just makes a fantastic play on this football. And I believe he gets both in, makes the catch, 1, 2.
Oh, that is NFL
holds on
right there.
Next play
if he
here.
slips to the second round, he's gonna be the biggest steal of the draft.
Kansas City Chiefs or something.
Stop.
Your worst nightmare. Any of these guys that we've talked about so far.
Oh my God. David Beck Hill on the same field. Just stop, please.
With Mahomes and his great.
I don't even know what Mahomes would do with a receiver like that who can position the body. That's insane.
I've thought about that. Like, imagine Mahomes with like DeAndre Hopkins too. Like, good grief. All right, here's another one. Now, this is probably the best of the bunch here. What he does here is incredible, okay? Because I believe he falls down at the top of his route here, gets up, locates the football, and still makes the catch. Whoop. And he got it.
No
joke.
Way.
I'm like, okay. I don't even think he believed he did it. He's like, did I really just do this?
Oh my God.
You can see at the top here, Sports Center top 10 nominee.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. And again.
All right, Brandon. It's time to dole out some grades. I got mad last time because you robbed my boy Olave of that perfect separation score. Don't do me wrong on Drake London here.
All joking aside here, like these two could be the best receivers in this class. Period.
Yeah,
and
I can see it easily.
Yeah, there's no arguing that. But in terms of final grade overall, I've got David Bell ahead of him. I gave David Bell the instant impact player grade as his final grade. So I see him walking into the NFL and being able to provide an immediate impact. Situation may or may not matter as much, but Jerry Jeudy is a great example of a situation not affording him the greatness that we know that he has as a player. I feel like David Bell, similarly as a route runner, but more importantly, as a guy who can body people and make great plays, even when he is covered, I feel like he has the ability to just go in there and make the impact on just about any team. I wouldn't say with any quarterback, but I am very confident that this guy can go in there and make some things happen. And let's hope, like you're saying, I'd love to see him with the Chiefs, even though you probably don't.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't want to see him with the Chiefs at all.
Right.
David Bell be interesting on the Cavaliers, Browns.
Cavaliers too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he
guys
probably
could
put up some points.
Get them in the NBA. But no, yeah, with the Browns, especially any of these teams, again, like that. Think about Baker Mayfield and like how much you don't like him.
It's not
probably
that
shouldn't say that.
well, actually, here's the thing. I like Baker Mayfield as like a player, an idea, but just he hasn't taken another step since he's been in the league. He's actually regressed, honestly.
And we had seen what OBJ could do with a
that
far
was the
better
confirmation, and I walked it back. I honestly said I was wrong because I'm a jaded Giants fan. Let's be real.
Well,
I thought OBJ destroys locker rooms. But it was
when he's healthy.
Baker. Yeah.
When he's healthy, it's a different story.
It's a game changer.
And we had seen that. Yep. And again, he's hurt. So, but he helped them win a Super Bowl, the Rams. So 100%. When he is healthy, the guy could have been the MVP in the Super Bowl. But anyway, back to the topic here. Drake London, just a shade below. I've got him in that second tier high upside player. But again, both guys have the highest ceiling of any of the receivers in this class. They'd be 1 and 2, 1A and 1B if we were just grading them based off their upside, their total upside, what I could see them becoming if they were to excel at absolutely everything. So those are the final grades for these guys. That's it.
Beautiful. Possible NFL team fits. Lions, I love David Bell for the Lions. And that 31st pick, we could definitely that right there. That might have his name on it.
Yeah.
32nd pick, excuse me. No, 31st pick, yeah. Vikings for him would be interesting across from Justin Jefferson.
A little bit of a better fit than like the Olave or Garrett Wilson, maybe.
Yeah, correct, because he's bigger. We already mentioned the Browns. Eagles obviously are looking for that number 2 wide receiver. If London falls, he would be the perfect player next to Devontae Smith.
Oh, yeah, because you got your Z in Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And then yep.
Now, Chargers. Oh, my God, Drake London, the Chargers is a wet dream. Drake London with Justin Herbert. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. You're losing Mike Williams.
It's under the sauce.
Potentially.
Yeah. Saints, they got so many holes. I'd be surprised.
I don't know if the Saints are going to field a team based on the salary cap.
It's gonna be interesting. Patriots. David Bell seems like one of those dudes that Billy Bell could fall in love with.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah. Bucks, they might need to replace somebody. Be interesting. Packers, if Aaron Rodgers stays or they want to surround.
Wow.
Yeah.
We talked about Mahomes with either one of these guys. Give me a break.
It would just be so unfair. And no way they get London. London won't fall that far. Not a chance.
Yeah, based on what we're seeing now, no. Based on what people are prognosticating so far, but again, free agency is going to affect it. We just talked about that on the free agency show. Some of these other receivers that are out there could change the whole landscape. Let's just say the Chargers were to re-sign.
We might see some legit receiver movement too, because Michael Thomas legit might get traded this offseason. So that would open it up there as well. Saints definitely need a wide receiver then.
There's so much, there's going to be a lot of movement at the receiver position, which I think teams will evaluate that. And that's why I really think that it's going to kind of be a boring draft early on, because you're going to see a lot of edge rushers, offensive linemen coming off the board. Tackle position will be a big deal early on. And then you'll start to see probably after like pick 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range, you'll get a receiver off the board. One of these guys, maybe Bell or London, Olave, Wilson, Jamison Williams, any of those guys could come off the board. But again, I feel like after pick 15 is when you're going to start to see more offensive guys, skill position guys coming off the board.
Hey, Brandon. Sorry, we had to do a wardrobe change.
I know, right? Yeah. So weird. I don't know how that happens. Though.
Yeah,
I
no,
know,
we
right?
had technical difficulties, y'all. So this is actually being filmed another day. But we love you so much. We just wanted to say goodbye. And thank you for tuning in to Drake London, David Bell. And just know I'm still very angry at Brandon for the way he's treated my man Drake London, because he's the best wide receiver in this draft. And if you say otherwise, you are cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Hey, listen. Some people are willing to die on certain hills. I was willing to die on the Chase Claypool hill
Yeah,
a few years ago,
but that you believed in
and I
Chase
haven't
Claypool?
died.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still one of the best young wide receivers in the NFL. That was Ben Roethlisberger's fault, not Chase Claypool.
Yeah. London and Bell, two highest upside players, in my opinion, in this particular draft class. They find out in 2 to 3 years, probably.
Oh, Drake London is coming out firing, baby. Rookie of the year. Mark it.
Well, we'll see.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Without further ado, that was After Further Review.
1 week later, different clothes.